Hey, hello, how's it going? The name's Ven. My age is irrelevant, and I'm a straight white male, so automatically, my opinion is trash. My favorite hobbies consist of gaming, disturbing the peace, and watching terrible canceled TV shows while performing a self-lobotomy in order to wash the hours I wasted out of my mind. But because I'm a depressed, lonely man, I made this video in the hopes that I may find the audience of my dreams to share my sufferings with, and talk about the worst shows I can find. And luckily for you, I found just the perfect show to start off with. I found one of the most boring, annoying, offensive, and infuriating dating shows I have ever seen while evolving around gay men. Man, I picked the most dangerous subject to make fun of for my first video. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, let me set up the setting for you. Picture it, it's the early 2000s, the golden era of entertainment. Everyone wanted to be like Tony Hawk. The PS2 was the greatest console of all time, alongside the greatest game ever made. An American Tail, the video game. Michael Jackson almost ratioed his kid off a balcony, and MySpace once held the largest community of pedophiles, while nothing else very important happened. For television, it was the Wild West of reality TV shows, and its popularity was an all-time high. And none was as popular as dating shows. The concept of a sexy person choosing from a batch of other sexy people, each other raw in a mansion until most of them were thrown out in a non-violent battle royale to see who got that good kush, was, and unfortunately is, extremely popular to this day. From the early to mid-2000s, TV stations such as VH1, MTV, and the network in question, Bravo TV, would accept any kind of reality TV shows in hopes that they'll make millions no matter how terrible the idea was gonna be. That's how we got highly acclaimed shows like Date My Mom.
Marcy, I had an incredible mullet hunt with you today. It was awesome. You were awesome.
Next.
Oh, I guess you just sold yourself to the next bus. Next.
I like stuff that looks worn in and used. Vanessa was perfect for me.
And the award-winning show, Flavor of Love, starring the world's most mediocre rapper, Flavor Flay.
Oyster.
Oyster? Oh, no.
The oyster.
Oh, you can't call me oyster.
Don't tell me what I can do.
But it wasn't enough. They needed something more. Harnessing their infinite knowledge, Bravo TV would stumble onto an idea to bring in a new community, the gay community. They were going to make the very first gay dating show, something to bring not only every white girl and their trash mothers to watch, but to bring in every gay boy not being forced into a Chinese church camp. And in July of 2003, they would soon broadcast this perfect show to all, and it would be called Boy Meets Boy. To be honest, I can never get behind dating shows. The concept of a singular person getting free reign to f any person on the show, then just throw said person away because they wanted the other 10 people, while being recorded on national television, never really sat right with me. Call me a jealous wah-wah baby virgin man, but these shows feel more like a game show made for people whose only form of romantic connection is under a beer bottle. Even the good ones make me want to game over myself with an ice pick to the head. Including when one of the things that these dating shows tend to do is come up with gimmicks in order to not be stale, something they do even to this day. And the show doesn't help with any of this at all. Besides being the most mind-numbing show I've ever seen in this genre, apparently just being the first ever gay dating show was too boring for the old white folks and wanted to spice things up. So the genius creators came up with the stupidest idea I've ever heard, and the reason why I personally watched this show. Because among these fellow gay men are straight men. And if the Bachelor pick a straight man at the very end, they could just take the reward money and just leave. We did it, boys. We found it. We found the very first Among Us game show. Woo! I can't believe it. The internet has come so far. It only took us going back 20 years to achieve it. I do love me a show that has chance of induced traumatization to someone as a selling point, because it sure sold it for me. Like, imagine spending so much time with someone and you really like them. You enjoy being with them. And if lucky, you get the hanky-panky with them, only for them to say no homo, taking all your money, and just leave. Like, I would be destroyed. And this is what the show has a chance of being. I only imagine the boardroom applauding and hugging each other over such revolutionary concepts. Little did I know, that wasn't even the only major problem with this show, and that I would be suffering an agonizing 6 hours watching this train wreck of a show. But I'm just delaying the inevitable at this point, so why don't we get into it? This is Boy Meets Boy.
There's a twist.
Sometimes he might try a little bit too hard.
I think at that point I was beginning to dislike Dan. I don't know if we have instant connection. I was stuck and I was ready to quit.
So somebody could pretend they're somebody completely different.
I try to force connections.
And there's a fourth person that's probably not sitting here because I chose you to be here.
They usually aren't going to happen.
I'm the one who's been shoving them down your throat.
Sorry. The only way I can do that is to not choose you.
Hold it. Stop. Stop. We're only 2 seconds in, and this woman looking like she came straight from a bukkake. Granted, if I was told I'd be hosting this show, I would be struggling to wear anything for it. But like, if the host doesn't even care enough to clean herself up, I can't imagine the rest of this series. Unfortunately, this poor woman is obviously sacrificing her life to the TV gods for the destruction of this show. But before that, she will quickly show us the main man of the season.
My name is James, I'm 32, and I'm a benefits administrator at my law firm. A little kid, I was kind of quiet. I was kind of nerdy. In high school, they called me a diamond in the rough.
As you can see, James is your very generic harem anime protagonist. His personality consists of being nice, physically having no backbone, and looking like a background character. James is a dime a dozen, and by that I mean this man is literally an NPC. When he speaks or does an action, I feel like he's running off a code somebody made, and that code is like 2 lines of text.
And I've just got a feeling most gay men have a great girly best friend, am I right?
Hey, how dare you assume every gay man has a...
You're right.
God damn it, James, you're not supposed to agree with that.
And yours is?
Andra.
And Andra, luckily for you, is with you this whole week, right?
She is.
Oh god, I already have a bad feeling about this. James is already showing himself to be someone who gets walked on, so I can only imagine what this friend is already.
So Andra, wherever you are, here she is.
This woman coming out here looking like a naked mole rat. This is James' owner, I mean best friend, Andra. Because James can't make a major decision without his circus frying, they needed a second mouth. And seeing that some of these guys are straight, I can easily imagine Rufus over here snagging each of them up. I mean, they can even make it into a spin-off show, James's Sloppy Seconds. So that bedhead can finally get a nap, they lock the two into a room to pick out which of the boys get them all moist before seeing them in person. And in this moment, you start to realize the problem with James if you haven't before.
The guys, if they know what's good for them, will adore Andra. They should understand that Andra has a say in whether they're here or not.
Okay, peoples, I'ma hit everybody with some relationship advice. And I'll have you know, I'm a doctor when it comes to relationships. I was personally trained by the master of love himself, Flavor Flay.
Where it belongs.
But all jokes aside, if you're dating someone and they have a best friend or a family member that never leaves their side, get the f*** out. Look, it's good for your partner to like your best friend, but it turns into a situation where you're not just dating the person, you're also dating their best friend. And unless you can turn that into a steamy extra, if someone other than us can freely walk into our place like they own it, someone's going to die. This can go the other way around. If you don't like their best friend or any of their friends, that's still okay. Unless they're literally garbage humans, that's not a deal breaker. You don't need to be in someone's friend group to be with them, including that it can give you an excuse to get some alone time if they ever want to hang out with them. As long as your friends are not bad influences, or vice versa, it's usually a great thing to have other people around you than just your SO. Just don't make it an everyday thing. After establishing their targets, we finally get to see the unlucky fellows, and they're just as boring as James. We got depressed alcoholic, Brian H. Griffin, Saving My Privates Ryan, Michael Suaves, Early Access, Neil Patrick Harris, and Matt Smith's love child. Like, this dude literally looks like these two did the fusion dance. The Token Black Man, Bizarro David Arquette, the other confident one. $20 is $20. Matt. I don't really have a joke. I literally forgot this dude existed the 3 times I watched this series. And while editing. The straightest man you know, Markiplier?
Hello everybody, my name is Markiplier.
Alpha Access. Rejected Baywatch actor? With the 15 mates shown, I can easily tell you that this shit is going to be the most boring thing I've ever seen in my life. To be honest, Bizarro David Arquette is my favorite, and one of the two that actually has a personality. My boy Bizarro came in with the confidence of God, this man comes out with a kiss and a mixtape, already 10 out of 10. But when it comes to everyone else, we know really nothing else about them. And the reason has to be that they really don't want the audience to know who each of these men are. Because of the stupid gimmick, they want to try and hide as much as they can, so to have people guess and think which of these schmucks are straight. And you may ask, well, we'll get to know them over the course of this series. Well, my astute viewer, that is true. But unfortunately, the creators would not give us such luxuries, as you'll soon see that unlike other more well-done dating shows at the time in same length in episodes and seasons, this show is very picky when it comes to who we as the viewers interact with. Because of the gimmick, except for more open personalities, you see that we barely get anything to at all from the boys in fear that we may find out who the evil straight man is. That or literally everyone is so f***ing boring that the editors saved us from internal damnation listening to one of these guys, skipping past all the more boring stuff and slapping together something for the 1 hour mark. It even feels like they forget some of the men sometimes, only showing them for one scene if not at all for the whole episode. So, after we get a good look at the mates, we go to the first challenge, event. A simple Hawaiian party. Where James gets to know everyone a little bit better. By asking the stupidest question ever.
We're all gonna be stranded on a desert island alone. What one thing would you hope would wash up on shore?
I still have 5.5 hours left of this series. Alright, relationship doctor again. It's good to ask questions for someone you're dating and who you know really nothing about. And to be honest, James did have a good starting question.
If you could pick just one genre of music to listen to for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Asking things like what type of music you like or what are your hobbies may seem like boring questions, but are extremely effective. Because not only will you get to know whoever you're dating more, but someone talking about something they like eases them and will give you an easier time to stir and continue a conversation from. Vague questions, while still having a chance of gaining something to stir a conversation from, can be a lot easier to end a conversation, making things awkward when the two of you are just sitting there. Because you don't simply want to keep asking questions, you want to find something to keep talking about because you can learn more about someone just by holding a conversation than giving them a questionnaire. So, after questioning the boys, for some reason, after James and Andra go to talk alone, Andra just goes off about some of these guys.
Okay, I have issue with the ones that are quiet. I don't know about the one that's from the Navy or Marine. He was kind of standing back from, like, not being excluded, but standing back and kind of watching. I think the young one might not be the one that you'd like.
Like, girl, chill. Unless one dunked on you, this is only day one. Like, she's so judgmental off the, what was your question to them?
Like, what were you doing last weekend? Like, last Friday night, what were you up to?
Yeah. All right. You know what? I'm not surprised about that. Considering some of the stuff Rufus says later on and the things she does, really, how dare we question the master of character observation that is Andra? As we get B-roll of the guys having a better conversation than James ever can, James decides that he wants to talk to 3 of the guys while Andra distracts him with,
is offensive and hag is offensive. And so put those together and I'm triply defending.
Yep. Forgot this was an early 2000s show. But don't worry, I feel like my man iDubes and you could have a great conversation.
Oh, it's a single piece of paper that says, nah,
But no, Rufus, they are nowhere near as offensive as each other. James would take 2 of the less experienced men and actually ask them not dumb questions. Kind of.
Just give me a quick little take on your outlook on love.
It's very direct, but I guess it's better than his main question. However, my main issue with this is the execution of how he questions them.
We were talking earlier about coming out and that experience. And that was pretty new for you, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if it has to do with James only having 2 emotions programmed into him, but he sounds like he's conducting a job interview with these 2. It doesn't help that depending on what they say, James has the ability to throw them into the gulag if he doesn't like it.
I don't know about Chris. My reservation with him was just that he's so freshly out.
Yes, James. Destroy their hearts young. First lessons of relationships. You're gonna be rejected. And more specifically, you'll be rejected for having no experience. And that is a terrible feeling. James decides to also talk to Dan, and the biggest and really only interesting thing happens in this episode.
There's actually someone that I'm very tight with that's still in New York. He's a great guy, Chris, but we're both totally open to dating other guys.
Homie? Look, there's nothing wrong with having an open relationship as long as you can talk it out with your partner. But why would they do something so trashy as wanting to go to a dating show to try this out? Especially if one of the major things about it is that there are straight guys hiding among the group and having a very stereotypical negative gay relationship is very suspicious, Dan. Explain how you're not the imposter. So James does something you should and then shouldn't follow.
I've had 3 actual relationships, and they've all ended because of infidelity. So I'm looking for someone who, if they start dating me, will date just me.
The advice here being, know what you want. It's okay to have a preference as long as it's not unachievable or illegal, and to accept walking away from someone who doesn't want that type of relationship. Now, can any of you guess where James f***ed this up? Because I want you to hold on to that thought as we'll get to it real quick. Bedhead comes to steal the dumpster duo to finally decide which of the men James wants to stay. Locking the two away to decide, Anja obviously went from dunking on the men to gushing about them.
If there's one that you just don't like at all, let me know.
No, I like them all, actually,
Okay.
so that's the problem.
Proving once again that Anja is as helpful as making a decision as Logan Paul is at being a good person. This goes on for a bit before James drops the damn bomb and shutting Rufus right up.
He has a boyfriend in New York City.
Okay.
And they're open.
I love that Anja doesn't have a comment about this or never gets upset about it, knowing everything James has went through at this point. I sure hope this woman proves her worth in the show very soon, because I am losing my patience. We finally get to the end of the episode, and James must pick 3 lucky men to leave and face the cold, harsh world of not being in this stupid show. Now, my sweet audience, have you guessed why James is a spineless cuck? Exactly!
I guess last but not least, Dan.
Here, James would get rid of the soldier, the black man, and the straight man. Why not Dan, you ask? I don't know. The same reason why I don't know why James still hangs out with his ex-boyfriends after he has stated that every relationship that he's been in, he has been cheated on. This kind of makes me question whether or not James might have an NTR kink. After the 3 leave, we get to see who was gay and straight and their feelings about leaving.
I guess I was trying to, for once in my life, fly within the gaydar. I guarantee you a lot of people that are watching the show would have thought I was gay based on either what I was wearing or just who I was sitting next to. I was trying my best to be a gay man.
You huh? Brian, homie, the moment you walked out, I knew you weren't gay. You exude so much straight energy that I thought everyone else was gay. You look like you unironically listened to Andrew Tate while at a club, looking for any virgin woman to sleep with because if your dick touches anything with a dick residue on it, it's considered gay. Brian, every gay guy in this show doesn't even know that there are straight people in this, and you got axed first. Let that sink in. After that joke of opinion, we finally end the episode with the boys and the others enjoying their sparkling wine as we fade away. And that was boring as Look, I get it. It's the first episode, and it tends to be slow to get to know the contestants, but they're boring. James is so shallow that a baby plate has more depth than him. And because of the whole premise of the show, we can't know anything more about the men except at surface levels, so we have a harder time trying to connect with the boys. It doesn't help that the first event with these guys is just James asking a stupid question and to gauge them from that. But let's give this show the benefit of the doubt. Maybe the second episode will give us the momentum for a classic show in the making. I hope. We start off the episode with James the Glory Holes waking up and being themselves for a bit, and like, bruh, James is such a boring smuck. I know I just made fun of the fact that some of the mates are just as boring as James, but
How's everything working out in there? Yeah? Okay. If you shake more than twice, you're playing with it.
Watching the mates enjoying themselves in the most obvious free vacation that they're in, while James is just kind of
Bagel in.
boots up, is kind of ironic. Soon Bedhead would, hey, look at you! You really cleaned yourself up. See, I told you those drugs didn't make you you. Maybe this is a good sign that this show is picking itself back up, and they will really show us how much of a powerhouse this series really is. Bedhead gives us a rundown for this episode. James must face his fear of
the giant horse cock
and be forced to have a cowboy-themed date with everyone, or be gunned down on the spot. Yeah, seems like a very reasonable request. This one's kind of funny, because the amount of times James has stated how much he hated country music in the first episode, only for them to totally disregard it because anything cowboy-related makes anything 100 times gayer, like, as if this show really needs it. I'll be fair and not make a Brokeback Mountain joke, as this show did predate the movie by about 2 years, but, I don't know, stereotypes. Giant horse cock. The group will be split into two, where James gets to take the separate groups to 2 different dates. The first group will go with James into the middle of the desert to do cowboy dances, while the second group will go rock climbing. I don't really know how cowboy that second date is, but okay, I guess. I still find the dancing a very weird starting date. Rock climbing is fine and can easily be a really fun date, but why dancing? Don't get me wrong, dancing is a great date activity, but it's a very intimate activity. And this is really the first date with everybody, because you can't convince me that first episode was a date. Besides the location, the idea that cowboys tend to associate with gay men, dancing seems such a really bad choice early in this series. Even with the pacing of this show, I can't see James possibly getting a chance to dance with everyone. This seems like a last date type of activity, but what do I know? I am but a financially struggling white boy. I'm not the one making this show. How dare I question the unmatched power of the TV producers? You melt wheat toast looking worm? Well, let's see what this godly decision will lead us to. After the splitting of the group, James takes the first group away from Anja before she enacts her naked mole dance, having a very uneventful card ride.
Pile into this tiny little Jeep, and I don't have a single clue on what we're gonna be doing. None.
After which, the group will soon arrive to— oh shit! Is that where they got the town from Kin Nations from? Oh shit. Here they'll be trained to do 2 of the national cowboy dances by Texas Ranger over here. And the second one is it's a dance. Yep, definitely saving that one for the homies. So I didn't think I would be as upset at James than I normally am, but why the f are you so jealous?
I think at that point I was beginning to just dislike Dan. All he wanted to do was go dance with Jorge. I thought it was really inappropriate. Especially after what he told me yesterday about having a special friend that he's open with in New York.
Yeah. Out of all the natural emotions you show, it's jealousy. To be even fair for Dan, even though he should have left in the first episode, he didn't know that this dance would be like this, and here you are acting like he's cheating on you. Like, bro, you just technically met him. Not only that, there's no way that one of these guys didn't f each other last night. Just get rid of him, James. He's causing more problems. Why is he here? After their quick dancing lesson, the Glory Boys put their moves to work.
18 naked cowboys in the showers at Ram Ranch.
Once finished with their ritual dance, James must pick a sacrifice for their to pick for his one-on-one time to get to know someone specific. Yeah, that's it. James picks the alcoholic to have the homie dance with, and a special cowboy-themed, scraps? Like, literally, what the hell is that? Like, at least give him a steak or something. Like, did they really just give him the food Phineas paid the Africans with in his video? James says to James and asks the man how he feels about love. And this man gives him the most base statement in the whole show.
I've been in love?
Yes and no. I thought you'd be like just all brawn and nothing else up top. You wouldn't have both the masculine look and then because you have this masculine.
After that very eventful scrapping, the boys head back to enjoy the rest of the night with everyone else. While drinking, the group gets a knock at the door and get a chilling note for the second group.
Pack your sacks because it's going to be a chilly time at the top. Be ready at 9 a.m. to strap on your harness. Woo!
The next day, James takes the second group far up the mountains for their date, while Andra takes care of the first group, who were tasked by the unquestioned producers to get James a gift. If you're wondering why only the first group is doing this, then you're on the same boat as me. I don't know if it has to do with favoritism or maybe lack of time, but from reading the wiki, apparently the second group did go, but they didn't show it. Like, how do they expect us to care about this show when everyone working on this mess doesn't give a shit about it? We already don't know much about these guys unless James takes them for a one-on-one, And even then, we would be lucky to get anything more than a sentence worth of information. If it's a time thing, then skip the shopping section and have it like a surprise moment. Oh, I get it. It's to see Dan get jumped by Andra over his stupid boyfriend thing, because that's the only really exciting thing about this show right now. But why show nothing for the first group as if they did nothing? And speaking of which, Dan, why are you telling everyone now you want nothing to do with this boyfriend? But tell the one person you might date that you're still seeing him. Do you understand how stupid you are? I hate this show. We're only 2 episodes in and I already want to kill everybody in this show. We go back to James where everyone else seems to be enjoying themselves. Except for James, who also wanted to spice things up for this episode and decided that he now has a crippling fear of touching rocks.
It was fine until I got on the rock itself and they tied the rope up to me.
I was surprised to see how nervous James got. He was very scared.
I was just frozen in fear.
Raise your right knee.
I don't think I can do that. I was stuck and I was ready to quit and I wanted down.
I couldn't say why though, because this is the safest rock I've ever seen. I've run up slides more dangerous than this rock as a kid. In fact, I don't know if anyone else did this, but back in elementary school, we had this game called Traffic Jam, where every kid on the playground would jam ourselves into a circular slide as we slowly slide out one by one. Kids would actually pass out doing this shit. And if I remember, I think the game was banned when some boy had to go to the hospital because of it. We really shouldn't have done it, but we were dumbasses, and it was fun. That game was more life-threatening than this rock. To be honest, this is the only time I actually felt bad for James. This whole episode has been James's worst 2 days. He had to dance to music he hated, get very upset with Dan, and develop a fear of climbing a rock. I think the guys enjoyed this more than James, and James is literally the bachelor. You know, the one everyone has to suck his dick so they can stay in this free vacation longer. Luckily for James, there would be a hero for this tragic moment.
James, the view up here is worth it. It's beautiful.
This is so sickening. Wes had gotten up the other side before me and he was sitting there, come on, you can do it. It's deep breaths, deep breaths. And I started feeling a little more comfortable.
Oh, yes, thank God.
Wes will come to rescue James from his slump and just act very annoyed and passive-aggressive with him.
Just breathe deep.
Wes sounds like one of those Instagram girls who never really cares about anything that won't give them social cred. I can imagine James falling to his death and Wes just making a post next to his hospital bed. While at the same time, James showing that he is the perfect camera boyfriend. It's just icing on top.
After me making it to the top, I saw Wes as someone who I can relate to. And I think Wes probably felt the same thing.
No, James. No, he wasn't. He's just forcing himself to wait for your slow ass to not get axed from the show. I don't see why you would. I would have dropkicked James just to leave. Once the crisis has been averted, James once again must pick who he wants to have a one-on-one time with. And seeing how much one made a big impression with James, we all know exactly who he's going to pick. That's right, Neil Patrick Smith. Why? I don't know. He said it was to get to know the ones that he didn't talk to, but instead we get to know Jack and his friend Shit a lot more than this failed fusion dance. Thankfully, before James sucks Neil's soul, they end the day and head back. Whew, that was close. It looked like James' eyes went black back there for a moment. Finally, after this very long episode, we once again get to thin out the crowd. But before that, the boys get to enjoy some pizza, while everyone, and what I mean by everyone, only half of them, gives James their gift. I still don't know why they bothered to include this when they don't even show everyone from either groups give their gifts. I mean, look at James, he doesn't even like them. Like, that's the face a child makes when their grandpa gives them their old, hard-used socks instead of the game they wanted. Bruh, James looks like he's ready to chuck one of the gifts at someone's face. Actually, looking over this again, I genuinely believe James to even get all the gifts before Bedhead comes just to steal them. Showing more of how much they value the relationships on this show. And my patience. I don't even think James ate any of his pizza. They really want to get this episode over and done with. I mean, I don't blame them, but at least let us have some time to breathe. Jesus.
Tonight's selection ceremony is going to run a little differently. We've divided the 12 mates into groups of 4.
What?
From each group, you have to pick 3 mates to stay and 1 to leave. And you're not going to know ahead of time who is in which group.
Okay, I guess that's a thing now. I don't get this. Why do they keep adding more things? My theory is that in the middle of the episode, someone knew James was too boring and wanted to spice things up with some added tension. That or James must have just pissed in somebody's coffee. What's this group of 4 bullshit? Like, there's already playing real life Among Us. What more do you need? Whatever, if the show producers lost faith by episode 2 that they'll need to hop in just to make things more interesting, then I'm allowed to make things more interesting on my end. God help me. So the elimination is finally here, and we get to say goodbye to Early Access, Alpha Access, and Markiplier! So if you're wondering why I'm skimming past the elimination segment, it's mainly because they are extremely boring. I can only imagine that James picked some of these guys at random, simply because he can only pick 3 guys to go. Like, this is some of the stuff James says to those he asked to stay.
With Matt. You seem a real grounded person. Someone I think I could move on in this game with. Will you stay? Sure. Okay. Just don't say no.
I think he literally says nothing about one of the people he picks. The only thing that is of note is that he continues to keep Dan, because despite literally saying he's starting to hate Dan, James would kill a country music lover over anybody else. But that's the end of the episode, and just like the first one, a live castration is more entertaining than this. The only enjoyable thing about this episode is the mild misfortune that happens to James, and even then, all it does is show us how the show producers undermine the people within the show. Even the main bachelor. They literally made him do dates revolving around stuff he's unfortunately not a fan of, simply because cowboys are gay. I know James is as interesting as a bag of rocks, but if you did not have faith in the show, why are you making it? Pause. Keep this noted, because this will become a pattern throughout this entire series. But unfortunately for me, the descent further into the void continues. The next episode starts off with the wildest conversation.
And you only date men?
No. Her name was Susan. She was great. Huge tits. What's your background? I don't know it, honestly.
I've only hooked up with 2 men.
Your entire life?
Yeah.
You had 2 gay experiences.
See, the thing is, it's not gay or I'm just like men and female. I just never thought there was a problem.
So are you bisexual?
Yes.
So, Michael tells the boys that he's bi. And they take it horribly.
Wow.
Yeah.
What gay man are you?
But you were going on a gay dating show.
Yes.
What are your expectations?
That you're supposed to be. I'm gonna basically say that we are all gay that are here on this show.
Yeah.
So I didn't know how many people in the LGBTQ community hated bi people. And after watching this, I asked my gay friend and my fiance about this while watching a video about the topic. And I don't get it. The only thing that comes to my head after learning about this is why? I'm not gonna stay long on this, as this is beyond me, but from someone who's just watching a stupid TV show, why are people only allowed to like one thing over the other? Especially from a community all about acceptance. Like, if you like hot dogs and buns, what's the problem? I was told that they think they're fake, but how's it any more real than liking just a hot dog and just a bun? But I'm not gonna dive further into this, as this is not my area of expertise. As for I'm a straight white male, I am usually shot on sight by the people who should know more. But my advice for anyone who has to deal with something like this is, who cares? If you want a dude one night and then a girl the next, power to you. And if someone can accept you, screw them. The only people you need in your life are the ones that accept you, and sometimes that's more than you'll ever need. So don't let some asshole tell you what you can and can't like, from either end. Just be you, and you'll go a long way with just that. But hey, you don't have to listen to me. I'm literally making fun of a show about gay people. I'm public enemy number 1 right now. When we check with the rest of the gang as they talk about Dan's relationship. I'm getting so sick and tired of this dude. There's always a problem with this guy. He's not even the villain. He's just making things more complicated than it needs to be. That's probably why there's more focus on him in this episode, as everyone's starting to know that Dan has a slave of some kind. But with how much focus there is for Dan in this episode, I hope he finally gets kicked. Hey, yeah, you know what? I hope this dude is straight too, because I'm petty. But the quick rundown of the scene is that Andra tells James about Dan's boyfriend not being his boyfriend, while some of the glory holes relate to the rest the same information to clear his name. While Brian say he has a crush on Dan. Oh, now I really wish Dan is straight now. Get that poetic karma for trashing Michael earlier, Brian. There will be a bit of time before James swoops in for his prey, so we get to watch Dan get naked.
Let me in here, boys. in here?
Maybe.
No. You want a towel?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Here. Yeah.
Yeah, that's about it for the individual time with the boys. This is probably the most boring downtime so far with the mates, but hey, at least we get to see some man cheeks.
Sitting right there, Paige.
For today's date, like before, the groups are split into two. The first group will go to the zoo, while the second group gets some karaoke done. Huh, those aren't actually bad dates. Very boring compared to the last episode, but I would say a lot more appropriate. And they skipped the zoo. Yeah, they only showed the f***ing zoo for less than a minute before they go straight to the one-on-one, in which I counted. If you want us to care about this show, show us what everyone is as an individual in these dates and make us care. If you're just gonna skip these dates, why are you doing them to begin with? Just do a more entertaining date. But little did I know, things would only get worse from here, because they did the most terrible thing you could possibly do. They gave Rufus a choice.
It's time for a one-on-one date for James and one lucky mate. But this time it's your call.
That's right, they gave Andra a choice, and immediately it looks like that power is too much for her. You can literally see the smoke coming from her head. Rufus would ponder on who she wants to keep for herself, while James has the most mediocre date you can give a person, picking Matt as the sacrifice. Sending him to his dooms, James takes Matt to his lair, while Rufus and the rest of the mates, throw water at each other. Man, seeing how more entertaining this water fight is compared to the zoo itself, shows us, I don't know, maybe, that this date is f***ing stupid? Just maybe. We follow James and Matt enjoying themselves with a giraffe, only for Matt to drop the bomb on one of the spiciest golf cart rides ever.
How do you feel about your chances of staying or whatever you think that is?
I mean, I don't know, like, part of me, like, to be completely honest with you, like, I feel like you're, like, a totally great guy and totally down to earth and very similar to me. Yes, I'm attracted to James, but do I have this incredible connection with him? No.
My boy Matt knows what he wants. He's a man with class. He wants a Giga Chad in his life. And I'll tell you what, James, you definitely ain't it. And boy, is he upset. Like, look at his face. He looks like he's about to cry. Like, bitch, you're boring. You talk to everyone like you're talking to your dad. You're drier than the desert y'all went to in the last episode. I'm actually happy for people who had to leave because they're not forced to talk to you just to get an above average vacation. And I'm glad somebody said something about it too. Thank you, Matt. Thank you. And honestly, everything Matt says is not only a very good point towards James, but something to follow. It's not a two-way street when it comes to seeing someone. You must always try to gauge how someone feels and take that to account when wanting to be with someone. You should never go for someone you get along with or are attracted to and assume they'll be with you. You'll know if they are right usually with how they act with you. Or just simply talk about it, things get to the point where it seems a bit more intimate. At this point, I'm fairly sure James is a petty man, so I'm pretty sure Matt just shot his way to being eliminated. Woo! Be free, Matt! But for what it is worth, you gave us some good advice, Matt. And it was nice, barely knowing ya. I can't wait for this to be sidelined into something stupid.
I heard some interesting gossip about last night. The rumor is that Michael's bisexual.
Dan mentioned to me that in the conversation that he had, James said something about my bisexuality.
What I was really doing is, okay, now who is making up stuff to try to get an advantage?
Nobody wants to say anything because that could have ruined Michael's chances. And if you were really playing the game, you could have been like, he's a bisexual.
Ahaha! Where did my bottle go? Tell me, James, what if Michael is bi, What are you gonna do, execute him in front of everyone, Sam Pepper style? I will still never get that, nor do I want to. Whatever, the boys meet up with everyone else, and the off-brand Fusion decides to show off his poetry skills with everybody.
Once was a man in WeHo who was a big fan of Joe Schmo. He sat in a pool and pulled out their tools and till they
Nice. Right after this, the impossible happens. Hell freezes over. TikTok has finally been banned. Incels are getting women in pure pandemonium because Andra for once does something good. She takes James and Dan to the side and makes them talk about Dan's boyfriend, slave. Since Dan has been giving two different stories, the two need to talk it out and what they really want from each other. And for once, this is a very good example of how you should talk to somebody, mainly if you're with someone that seems to be on a different mindset on a relationship. If you're with someone and it seems like they want something else than what you want from a relationship, just talk to them about it. If you two have different wants from a relationship, you can either talk about it and work things out, or just end it. Don't force yourself to be in a relationship that doesn't make you feel good. Sometimes it's better in the end to find someone else that fits what you want. You should never be with someone just to be with them. You should always know what you want. After the talk, Dan rethinks his life choices, acting a bit suspicious, not gonna lie.
My question is, if I knew that you were also dating other people, what would you expect me to get from that?
When we're having this discussion in depth about Chris, I just kind of wish that I had never even brought him up.
Thanks for being honest.
Bye.
Yeah, have fun. Bye.
But we quickly brush that under the rug and follow the second group. Come on, the meter's running. We don't have time for this wah-wah crybaby shit. We cut to the group going to sing at the place hosted by Coco Purr, the supposed greatest drag queen ever. And because I know nothing about drag, I asked my sister, the grandmaster of drag queen knowledge, to see what she had to say about that. The boys get on stage to work on their singing skills by literally singing the same song.
You're wrong and I grew strong. I learned how to get along, and so you're back.
Which is fine and all, Gloria Gaynor's music is great, but you guys can't tell me that this is the only gay song you could come up with for them to sing. I want to dance with someone, come to my window, literally any Queen song, mainly I Want to Break Free and or Good Old Fashioned Lover Boy. I would say Supermodel, but I feel like Coco would have been petty for the more famous drag queen song to be played there. I'm pretty young, and I could come up with songs on the spot that came out before this show. Yeah, they'll use It's Raining Men later because it's the gay national anthem, but you can at least broaden the selection. Here's the funny thing, they don't even really sing the It's Raining Men either. I hate this show. The only one thing that made this great was Sean. My boy out here dancing instead of singing. My boy is working it. Let's go.
There's always going to be stereotypes about gay men not being athletic, gay men not being masculine, and I think this show blows that out of the water.
Shut the f up, Wes. Singing and slightly dancing doesn't make you either. The manliest thing one can do is to be themselves, to accept themselves no matter what anyone says, to not be afraid about showing oneself or emotions. You openly coming out is the manliest thing you can do, Wes. Not singing some stupid overused song. So once again, Andra is given the ability to pick a man to sing, picking Wes to sing Kevin Bacon's theme song alongside James.
He's doing harmony? What's that about?
Okay, I'll admit, Almost Paradise is a very good duet song, but for me, I would have personally gone with the most romantic song in the world. KK Love Song. Well, at least Wes finally got picked after he passively aggressively helped James up a rock in the last episode. After James overtakes Wes while singing, we just get our 101, and surprisingly, we get a little bit more than James's stupid questionnaire.
So cheers to Adventurous Week, to singing and rock climbing, and to rock climbing, and to Coco Peru. First time we met, that very first hi, how are you? I got a very initial attraction. Yeah, there's a certain spark. I mean, there's chemistry, attraction and chemistry, that first initial. And it's not about, let's just have fun now. It's about, is there a connection, and how do you determine that? How do you evaluate that? So are you looking for dating, or are you looking for something else? For me, I am most prepared now than I ever have been for something serious.
They seem to be hitting it off really well, and honestly, I'm happy for them. I can't really say that with everyone else. We head back and finally get to the elimination, and you can take a big guess what they do. If you say add more shit, you be right.
I feel like the bearer of bad news, but much like the other selection ceremony, we've divided the mates into 3 groups of 3. We've given Andra the veto power. In tonight's selection ceremony, you have the power to veto one of James's choices. And in doing so, protects that one mate from leaving the house.
Because besides bringing back the stupid group thing, now they gave Andra the ability to drag someone back from freedom and cancel their elimination. I don't know why they keep giving this woman more power that she never needed. Whatever, let's get this episode done with. Honestly, this is the most predictable elimination so far, because if you can't guess that James is a petty bitch, you already know who he's gonna pick.
Okay, Michael, if you please say your goodbyes. Unfortunately, Matthew, you have to say goodbye.
The fact he picks the bisexual and the only one being upfront and honest with him, despite it being negative over people he verbatim said he knows nothing about, says a lot.
Time, but
to hang out today. Maybe tomorrow we can get a chance to chat and hang out. So I'd like you to stay.
I'd be honored. Thanks.
But do you know what? Like I said before, I'm glad they're gone. They are no longer forced to go on mediocre dates with this man. Dan, yeah! This man was in this longer than he needed to. I'm sure Dan is a nice guy and all, but you can't come to stuff like this with the story this man came with. Wait.
Anja, do you agree with James's choice?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, thank God. I tend to skip over the last talk between the guys leaving, but I'm going over this one since most of these guys were significant. Whoa! Hold up, Michael. You were straight?
I felt disappointed, even though ultimately it was the right decision because nothing would have or could have happened. What I will definitely take into my life from this experience is how generally gay people are of a higher caliber person. They're just more sincere. The only ego that I'm actually seeing from people are from like the one or two people that I do think possibly are straight as well.
I actually had to rewatch this a few times to listen to his dialogue here, just to make sure they didn't put him as straight just because the show producers didn't believe in bisexuals. But yeah, he's straight. Oh my God. Now I feel pissed. I was on this whole tirade about others hating bi people to defend you, and now you're out here saying this shit? F you, Michael Suarez. I'm taking back my respect for you. We go to Dan to see that he is he's straight. F you, Brian. Even though Michael was a fake, I'm sure your comments on bi people aren't. So you can eat my ass, Brian, and goodbye, Dan. And with that, we finally finished this episode, and we're finally halfway through, guys. I can't believe it. We're almost there. We only just have 3 more hours. God damn it. Let's get this over with. We start this episode with nothing very important happening. At this point, we already know what happens. James and Andra have a boring conversation about the coming day, while the glory holes are just being gay.
Okay, horny goat leaf. It's an aphrodisiac, so it must... Yes. Maybe it's like natural Viagra. Man, I'm frisky.
Very thought-provoking conversation there. I can feel my brain growing a wrinkle listening to them. Honestly, I feel like whoever is running the show seems to care less and less as we progress, because now we're just straight up skipping the little moments between the boys, which is a shame, because I'm starting to enjoy everyone interacting with each other when James isn't around, because they seem to have a more genuine and entertaining personality, which says a lot. But now that's gone. Now we're all left with just cock and ball torture. Well, at least we're not the only ones getting tortured, because we see that whoever James pissed in their coffee before is still coming up with these dates, cursing him with some more countryside activities, which I still find hilarious, as today's torture is a desert-filled horseback ride with the cow holes, while poor old Rufus gets a relaxing spa day because someone in the back thinks she's doing something worthwhile. Hey, psst, I have a suggestion. Get rid of her. I still don't see the purpose of this woman, especially from this episode and onward. She literally contributes nothing to this point, and she is but an annoyance. They were giving her so much power before, as if they needed her to be more important to the show on why she deserves to be there. Now they're just throwing her away, showing us that she's only here for the gimmick. But because they can't backpedal on it, they just kind of brush her away, shoo her away, give her a nice little spot. You know, you work so hard, you know, you have to deal with all these men. Oh, poor thing. Besides from the main gimmick of this show, this is one of the stupidest decisions I have seen from it. So the glory holes head off to the desert for their date. The boys shortly arrive and get on their horses for the ride. And they're there. Yep, that's about it. Come on, just give us something, just anything, just a smeckle of entertainment, come on! This is so boring. Nothing happens during these dates. How did anyone make this show think that this shit is entertaining? They keep skipping what I assume is the boring shit, but if they were doing that, they could just skip the whole show. Why did they think that this show needed to be made? I mean, you can't explain to me how this is such an important show to be made. I'm to believe that everyone working on this is getting so bored that the moment we finish this very quick horse ride, they just go straight on the one-on-ones. My only caveat from this episode is that James finally gets to go on these dates with each of the men, which makes me think, why does he have to do this here? Or better yet, come up with a better date for everybody. You can easily tell the creators are trying their best to speed past everything while trying their damnedest to make sure something interesting is happening. The only issue is, James exists. And because he's such a liability, James doesn't even get to choose who he goes on the one-on-one dates with now. It's random. Deep breaths. Deep breaths. So James goes on a lunch date with Brian, where they talk about Brian's job as a bartender. Yay! Okay, not bad. I've met plenty of bartenders. They're really cool guys.
Okay, I know he's a bartender. And that was one of the things I kind of questioned about Brian. Bartenders sleep around. That's what they do. I would never ever date a bartender because I would be too jealous. I wouldn't want someone I'm dating being groped 6 hours a night, every night of the week. I think the temptation is just too much.
Why do you ruin things, James? I hate the stereotype. Look, I get it. You have to be sociable to be a bartender, and you've been cheated on, and I'm sure there are some who whore around as well. But I'm sure a good majority of bartenders don't feel up or let themselves get feel up by their customers. That sounds like such a bad business tactic too. I mean, it could be a great one if you're looking to get a sexual assault charge. But I'm very sure this boring-ass smuck is not getting a lot of people, including if he's desperate enough to go on this show. Well, once again, I learned something new from this show. I wish I didn't. But we don't have time to learn. We must continue forward, as this is all we get from Brian. The dynamic Q-Force continue to the desert on foot, deciding to eliminate the next boy through survival of the fittest endurance run to the death. If only. The boys get on a, oasis, I think. And unfortunately, Rob is forced to satisfy James in his time of need. But luckily, God was on Rob's side, and tries to ruin the date with the most annoying win you can have.
You want some water?
Yes, I love it. We're just trying to have a conversation in this horrible, horrible wind. Here we are trying to have this date, and not even able to look at each other because the wind was blowing so hard and the sand was blowing in our faces.
Cheers.
Cheers. I know.
The wind was blowing so hard that half of the time was spent saying, you know what, can you repeat that?
Damn, it's almost as if having a date in the middle of the desert is stupid. The conversation between them is about mid, as per usual, but then James drops this question.
If you found yourself having a connection with one of the guys more than me, what would you do? Would you back off?
Would I? Yeah. Definitely.
There's no reason to think that in this group of 16 of us that started out, that 2 people wouldn't find a connection. I have one more question for you. If you were to leave tonight, would you be disappointed? And why? Or not?
If I were to leave tonight, yes, I would be disappointed.
I would put my left nut on the line that this question is to give James an excuse to get rid of Rob. James has proven before that he wants someone to just focus on him, which is fair. Sometimes you just want one person to focus on you. But James has proven to be the jealous type, and not that standard get upset jealous, but the if you hang out with anyone other than me, I'ma bite your dick off jealous. So we finish the one-on-one as the gang heads back to the limo, and probably the greatest scene from this entire series is shown.
Time again.
Why such intense music? They just turned the corner and they're about to face a boss from Yakuza or something. But we are not blessed by God for this one, as unfortunately, this is but another 101 where James gets to go on a limo ride with Franklin. God bless your soul.
Crack open a bottle of champagne.
Okay. Did you have fun today?
Yeah. It would have been so nice to ride home in the lap of luxury, and here we are in a dirty van.
Okay, so now that Franklin's not in the car, let's talk smack about him.
Oh, thank God. For a moment, I thought we weren't going to get something entertaining. And thankfully, they didn't skip over the guys. I especially like this one a lot, because we cut between the group and James with Franklin, and the boys seem to have a lot more fun, making jokes, laughing, and enjoying themselves. Then we just cut to James and Franklin just talking, and just speaking like James is interviewing him.
I was hoping that just one of these 15 people would be someone who wasn't going to be fake, who wasn't going to be lying, who was actually going to be just a normal person.
I'm kind of scared that this is not going to develop into enough time. Don't know if the time I have left is going to be enough for you to see me.
If I didn't keep you tonight, would you be disappointed?
I would find you, and yeah, I think I would pursue you. And it's exciting for me because I haven't had this such a long time. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Like, in the same time frame, Franklin says the last time they talked on a one-on-one, it was just him talking.
Last time we spoke, it was pretty much just me talking a bunch, and I wanted to turn the tables a little bit.
Then when the car ride ends, Franklin is the one just talking. Because James doesn't talk. He doesn't need to talk, because usually Anja does that for him. And for once, I can't believe I'm saying this, Anja seems to be the more fun one than this bag of sand. And then James says this shit.
He's a great guy. I mean, obviously he's very physically attractive. He seems so genuine. He seems to try to make an effort, romantically. My instincts are, wow, that's so incredible. I want that. And at the same time, like, you're lying.
How, James? How can you believe that he's being a liar? You out here asking these guys these stupid questions like, would you be upset if I were to kick you from this game? Yes, James. Yes, they will. It doesn't matter if they have alternative motives. They will be upset. But you can't just question people in order to know, without a doubt, they are here to date you. Because we both know that a rabid pit bull would be a much better partner than you. I'm sorry. I'm being too harsh. You'll at least be a better partner than Nikocado Avocado.
You're giving me diarrhea!
I'm recording you.
Record me!
I'm recording you, monster.
But that's why you need to ask them more fun questions, get them to be themselves, and make judgment from there. But instead, you're asking stupid questions like, if we're dating, would you still jerk off to porn? And if they dare say yes, they bite a bullet. When the two finally get back, James immediately goes straight to Anja, where he says this lovely line of dialogue.
And then what happened?
Anyway, our conversation was really fun. He's really nice guy. It was very good, very, very good. I think at this point, there's chemistry with everybody. A part of me is welling up with fear. What if, after all is said and done, I picked somebody who was playing a game? Well, you know how devastating that would be?
I would bet everything I've got that you can trust every single one of them.
Aha! Ha! Remember what I said about how stupid it was to have this hidden mechanic of having some straight dudes in this? Like, I've been going on James for being boring and petty, but even I know him picking a straight dude at the end would massively f*** him up. And for what it's worth, you really don't deserve that. Including if the background of this guy literally has been cheated on twice, then this setup is a disaster. You're about to destroy this man for a cute little gimmick, despite having a unique concept at the time on you with this. But we'll continue to this point very soon. Don't forget about it. As the party needs to get ready for the group dinner date. Here for once, we get something surprising. With 6 of the mates remaining, we actually get to know a little bit more about everyone. However, I'm a liar. What I meant was only Wes and Franklin. And by Wes and Franklin, I mean we just get to know Franklin.
My biggest addiction is travel, actually. And for me to go around the world, work, I guess, not necessarily as a wine rep, but as an importer of wine. Someone's life is in that glass. Their sweat, their tears, their blood. I got this little tiny putter Mazda. Argentinian Malbec also is just... When I was in NT, we were building schools for this tribe.
And you're 23 years old, and you've done all this.
Yeah, well, it's my family.
Jesus Christ, homie, where was this before? This dude had a damn eulogy ready. He wanted everyone to know who he was and where to get his damn book. He took so much time, Bedhead had to come in and be like, okay, no more James, get rid of 3 of them now. But the TV gods for once had mercy for James, and instead of just throwing them out now, they wanted to be nice and let James sleep on it. If anything, you could have just waited for James to finish the night and just tell him that they'll do the elimination tomorrow morning. Why is half of these people so hell-bent to stress this man out? I'm actually starting to feel more and more bad for James because it's clear that James doesn't really enjoy being put into these situations, including when Bedhead seems to come out of the woodworks to ruin it when things seem to be going great for James. While just like James, we must continue, getting one last one-on-one for tonight. James randomly draws a name to have dessert with, ending up with the failed fusion. The date seems to hit off really well, to the point that the two share a kiss together. Oh, a very sweet moment indeed for the show, pun intended, only for it to be immediately ruined with this.
When I see Darren and James kiss, a little bit of jealousy through my mind because they must have had a fantastic one-on-one.
James and I are about to walk back into the living room with the rest of the mates, and I see that Franklin saw us. And Franklin just had this look on his face like, wow.
Bruh, this dude is mad! He's giving Neil Patrick Smith the death glare, like the American Psycho death glare. Holy God, is he jealous? Huh, maybe Franklin really is meant for James. If they're both acting like psychos, seeing people they're not officially with, being with someone else, I can imagine if they are actually dating each other. Franklin asked Andra about it, and she said that he never... Wait, what?
He asked Andra about James and kissing, and Andra had said that she had never seen James kiss another guy before. That tells me that how I feel towards James, feelings are mutual.
I mean, she says she never seen James kiss a guy before, but really? With having 2 boyfriends before this? That's for another time, because drama is not within the schedule, and the tension is quickly brushed under the rug for a forced group activity. Ooh. Bro, I can't even be excited about this anymore. So the group is going to play a simple, harmless game of...
Ding dong, ding dong.
God damn it, can they stop adding more Whoa! Well, that happened. So, James gets to pick 2 people for one-on-ones. Someone to take him home for the night, and for someone to make him breakfast in bed. My boy Sean gets the ride home, and Wes gets to make the breakfast. We go straight to the car ride, and unfortunately, there's not much from this. I will say that the conversation was a lot more intimate than most of them, but...
So I'm trying to focus my energy on you guys and any of the other stuff.
You know, I think we all came in to this whole thing with it's a game, and they've reminded us over and over that it's a game, but it's not.
I'm trying to figure out how to follow my heart. And I walked up to you and asked you out. Would you go?
Yeah, I mean, I would, because of your physical presence.
This is a question I actually started thinking about on my own for myself. Have you imagined yourself kissing any of them?
No, as far as anybody else in the household. I have had to ask myself that question with you, and didn't really uncover an answer in any which way.
So the next morning, Wes comes in to find out that James and Rufus were literally eating scraps. That of the 2 can survive merely off of toasted bagels and photosynthesis. Wes pretty much lucked out on this one, seemingly spending a lot more time than most in the entire series with eating breakfast, talking a lot more, and even playing in the pool. That's not fair! You should have warned Wes how long he was gonna spend time with James for. Wait a minute. Oh my god, James is actually doing something fun? Well, I'll be damned. But this is merely calm before the storm, as shortly after this, James must pick the last 3 mates to stay. With intense, sad music, we head straight into the elimination. Prolonging the selection here, James will pick Brian H. Griffin, Wes, the most passive-aggressive support, and Franklin, the jealous alcoholic. What? My boy Sean? How could you not pick him? You know what? F you, James. You don't deserve him any- Oh shit, he's straight?
Love is love. It's not, has nothing to do with 2 different worlds of gay and straight. And so I'm hoping that this show bridges that and melts away the fears of how different we are. I didn't change any of my mannerisms. I didn't feed into any of those stereotypical changes. I am so excited to to see my girlfriend, to kiss my girlfriend, and to tell her that I love her.
And he has a girlfriend too? Damn. Where's Sean? I want to be his homie. Granted, I find it pretty funny that the dude he shared a kiss with and stated to have a great connection with, and he would still pick Brian over him. You know, the one you were worried about being cheated on with? For being a bartender? Great to see where your values lie at, James. You continue to amaze me at being the most shallow gay man than I thought possible. Well, seeing how far Dan went, I'm not surprised whatsoever. I am to believe that James loves adding more stress to his life for whatever reason, making me feel bad for him less and less. Maybe it really is a kink. Or maybe he's stupid. Or maybe both. So we end the episode with a cliffhanger. That being, Bedhead talks to James and finally revealing that one of the last 3 mates is straight.
The final, and I promise you, final twist. Are you ready for it?
Yes.
Of all the 3 final mates, Wes, Brian, and Franklin, one of them is straight.
Wow.
Whew, you can feel the stress oozing from this man. Honestly, jokes aside, I actually feel bad for James here. I know I just said that I feel less bad for him, because I can imagine anybody would be shattered knowing that there are people purposely lying to take something from you. It's horrifying. If you had trust issues before, well, you're just Plus, I can't imagine him being so trusting with the last 3 guys, which can heavily affect how James will go about the rest of the show. Granted, I imagine it's not going to be too different from what he's doing now. Homie was already questioning them like they were on a lie detector test. It doesn't matter if James picks a gay man in the end, he's just and that's a horrible choice to do for the show, even if it was for a normal straight dating show. However, I'm a bit of a sucker for TV drama, even if it's from terrible shows. This does pique my sick curiosity, and honestly, the only thing that's keeping me going is to see if I get to see James have a mental breakdown. Plus, I've dived this far into the show, there's nowhere else to go but the next episode. Here we have the rest of the conversation after they tell James about there being an imposter in the game.
But I can tell you that the other two are gay, 100%. And they know nothing about this twist, know nothing at all. And they are here for one reason only, and that is to genuinely have some kind of romantic connection with you.
James is trying his best not to slap this woman across the face, but with the new information comes new guidelines for James. The straight man doesn't know that James knows. James must not ask their sexual orientation, nor tell the rest of the mates that there is an imposter. Sorry, I'll stop. I can understand that last part. The chaos that would ensue if everybody knew would be totally unnecessary. Why are we in this mess to begin with? Oh yeah, money. Why am I in this mess to begin with? Oh yeah, I hate myself. I've already made my 2 cents about this, but James has every right to be frustrated because you just drastically shifted the tone of the whole show when this should have been just a normal dating show. We go back to the last of the glory holes, crying now that their big group is down to 3, enjoying one last shot for the road while reading some goodbye notes.
Stay beautiful and stay free. Call upon me whenever there is a need. I am there for you. I'm your friend. Through blood and tears. Woo, he called it. Love, Sean.
How do you like that? Do that.
He's a nice guy.
God damn it. Even though he's not there, Sean is still the f***ing homie. Despite him lying about being a gay man for the chance of stealing all the money, but you know, that's just semantics. After this, they really want to play off this weird, tense aura after the big reveal, playing this low background music to get everyone worried about who the evil straight man might be. I'm still on the idea that Andra's gonna run away with the straight guy if he gets picked. You can't make me think otherwise! But I'll put that aside for now, as we cut to Andra meeting up with James, where the man of the hour reveals the new info to her. And it goes as swimmingly as you think it would.
There's a twist.
What is this twist?
Sit back. One of them's straight. If I choose one of the other 2 who are gay and who like me, come here, honey.
That's bullshit, James.
And if I pick one of the gay ones, he and I go on a trip and I win $25,000.
And what do I get to be made an asshole of on national television for caring about these people?
But of course, in the end, Andra would make this about herself. Because what else would you think she would do? What, do you think a woman with a made-up name has some integrity? Ha!
For having somebody f***ing fool me, that's fabulous.
I'm the fool.
You're not the fool. I'm the one who's been shoving them down your throat.
Well, here's what's going on for the rest of the weekend.
Whatever.
Tonight.
Care.
Oh, listen, I need you to help
great.
me.
Yeah, I'm listening.
No, it's not, because I still like all 3 of them.
Yeah, that's the f***ing problem.
James is so done with this show. If it wasn't for the money, I'm sure he would have left. And he honestly should have, and spare us the next 2 hours. James says he's staying for the 2 gay guys, but I don't know. 25K is 25K. And I'm very sure if the straight guy didn't get to leave with the money, he would have taken an ass blasting just for it. We quickly see why changing the show from gay guys dating to Among Us drastically shifts the flow of the show. James isn't focused on choosing a man to be with, but to make sure that he's not picking the straight man and get screwed over, officially making this no longer a dating show. Congratulations! I never knew a show could lose focus this hard before. You have once again proven to me the unthinkable. From here, James gets to choose one of these boys to go on 3 separate big dates, finally, where he'll be gauging them on one-on-ones to see who is the straight man. James picks Franklin first, seeing that he's the most straight from the 3. He thought the best place to go would be a fancy spa day, because straight men hate seeing other men naked. Hey, hold up, James. How dare you assume we straight guys think other naked men makes us uncomfortable? What are we, savages? If I see my homie naked, I gobble him up. So the 2 go through 3 separate parts of the spa, where James tries his best to figure if the man is straight or not. And he is not very good at it.
And I thought it'd be an easy opportunity to get his sexuality out, because we were gonna be naked. If he was straight, he wouldn't want to be. Who was the first person you dated?
Most of the time I just made up, girlfriends, just to get it off the subject until after high school that I could come out of the closet.
I asked him questions and he answered them. There wasn't these huge breaks and he wasn't staring off into the corner. So it was that detective part wasn't really working.
This man can't tell worth shit that he's straight or not. However, that doesn't mean that Franklin isn't sus during the whole thing. The way Franklin speaks has this tone to it. That off tone that almost seems like he's making shit up, including that this guy really doesn't want to shut the fuck up about his adventures with his family. The more and more Franklin speaks, the more he's starting to seem like one of those friends who comes up with the most outlandish shit ever. The only reason I would see Franklin not being straight was that American Psycho moment he had when he saw Neil Patrick Smith kiss James. And if he is straight, then, dude, chill. If you really want that money, just ask for his dick first. However, I would also be telling James to also chill the fuck out because he's just playing 20 questions at this point, trying his hardest to figure out this dude is straight or not.
How'd your last relationship end? Then you wanted to be here? But you weren't moving because of him, you were moving because you needed to get out?
Absolutely not.
I think I asked you before, have you been in love before?
I started to feel more comfortable, but he just was firing questions and firing questions. He's just pummeling you.
Like, bruh, you're just scaring him at this point. I know James only has question and answer conversations from the show, but this man's is pumping it up to 11 because he has to know if this guy is straight or not. But at the end of this ropes, James stops and gives him the "I worked hard to be a nice guy and I don't want to be a bad person" speech. You know, that speech that every nice guy says to everyone's girlfriend.
Almost always I find out that someone's intentions are cruel or evil or there's something they want to get from me. I've worked so hard to be a good person.
But Franklin's a cool dude and reassures him that he's doing just fine. And we get that good old-fashioned 80s music as things get a bit frisky.
He reached over and he put his hand on my breast and he just really assured me that it was going to be okay and that I was doing fine and that I had nothing to worry about.
If they get even remotely a glimpse of the type of person that you are, the man we've all been privileged to get to know on any level.
I think we're connecting on several really good levels. I think it's an excellent match. On top of that, he's gorgeous.
But unfortunately, this show hates fun and the date ends there. But James's mission is not over, as his next plan is to abduct Brian, holding him hostage high in the air to find out if he's the imposter. Look, I'm trying my best to make these more exciting than they need to be, including when James is just doing the same old shit in every day he's been in this whole series. It gets really stale. And if none of you are understanding at this point, he is literally just interrogating Brian on the ride to their date, making him very uncomfortable.
Tell me a secret about yourself.
Do you have like a script over there that you're asking us?
A secret most people don't know, half the people you know don't know. 100% of the people don't know this. 10%, 70%, whatever it may be. I wanted to just ask them to share with me a secret about themselves that very few people know, just to kind of catch them off guard.
I was hoping our one-on-one time would be more, like conversation, but James is like constantly asking me question after question.
And if this makes him suspicious, sure, I guess, but you really shouldn't keep asking the person you're dating with hundreds of questions. I've talked about this before much earlier in the video, but the same applies here too. It can be very off-putting to anyone if your conversations with them seem to be more like a game of 20 questions. Usually that tends to be very unattractive to people. The date between Brian and James is, really boring. Don't get me wrong, a hot air balloon is extremely romantic and a wonderful date, and a bit generic, but watching James on one is less engaging than making a homemade hot air balloon with a condom and blowing it up with a Taco Bell enchanted fart. I'm not gonna lie, this date really shows how boring James is as a person unlike any other. If he's not questioning you, then he's giving you the driest conversation you'll ever get. I've had better conversations with my sleep paralysis demon, and I've never seen mine. Look, I'm not saying you should be funny to make dates more interesting. It would help, but you just need to be more interesting and engaging towards the other to see how you play off each other. James is just making people play stupid games with him or themselves and never really engage with them. But he will make people do a fucked up reach around just to get what he wants. However, luckily for James, Brian is just as boring as him.
Come in?
Yeah, let's go.
All right.
We need your weight in here.
Wow, that's some good steering.
The dates out here are fantastic. I don't think I've ever had a date before.
That's why you're on the show.
Good one there. I'll have to give you that one. Or like
it's about who likes me.
It's hard to judge. You have a tough decision.
So I think you know.
It's just something, I don't know exactly what it is, but you can tell,
This is probably why I believe they might have an easier time with each other, at least from what is shown, proving that at the end of the day, you just need to find someone that fits with your wavelength. The date ends with the two kissing each other on the cheek, in which I'm very sure is giving Franklin a massive hate boner right now. James realized the date with Rufus and lies about how much fun it was, and informed me her that at the end of the day, they have each other. While I threw up a little bit in my mouth. We go straight to the last date with Wes to see a mountainside. Cool, great. It's awesome to see that the company just downgrades each and every date with James. At least Wes can free himself from this torture and just jump. Like, honestly, what does the higher ups give you as a budget? Like, the f is this shit? I mean, that can explain why you've been eating nothing but table scraps this entire time. You can literally see the budget shrink more and more with each date. Here, James gets a bit down, thinking about getting hurt at the end of this. Which, in all honesty, I'll give this to James. The fact that he has to go into overdrive just to look for a guy who is lying to take his money can be very taxing on anyone. I'll even give it to Wes too. He was really cool about it with James, giving him reassurance and the pep talk that he needs to continue with everything. A very nice and intimate moment for the two of them. Good thing James immediately f***ed that up.
So what's your best? Did we talk about your last boyfriend? No. What was he like?
I don't know if I want to. Wes didn't want to talk about his ex-boyfriend. And I said, oh, okay. That's kind of weird.
Please, God, give me the strength not to murder everyone in sight. Anyone who's willing to listen, you can ask about their ex. You really shouldn't, but it's not the worst thing in the world. But never, and I mean ever, pressure them about it if they say no. It's not suspicious, and it's not a bad signal. There are a lot of factors into why they don't want to. Abuse, they just want to move on, anything. Just respect them when they don't want to talk about it. James is lucky that Wes isn't gonna slap him across the mouth and is willing to ignore it as they head for their dinner date, which is where things get pretty interesting, and honestly, made me actually love Wes.
Tell me a secret that 60% of the people you know don't know. Oh. I'm gay. I knew that though. Oh, did you? Maybe I didn't know that. I actually haven't talked about it. You just assumed, you know? Right. You assumed I was gay. Why?
That slow head turn makes up for everything in this episode. The way James just slowly turns his head like, the f you just say? And having a brain blast Sherlock Holmes moment, piecing things together while Wes looking like a f***ing maniac, laughing as the area literally begins to catch on fire is something I didn't think I needed from this show, but I got it and I love it. S-tier date right there, boys. As they ended the date and slowly walked towards the house, the two gaze into each other's eyes, knowing the tension between them gets steamy. They cannot hold back themselves as they lean in for the kiss, cementing this moment for an everlasting memory. The sparks begin to fly, knowing that this is the last they can give each other before the big day. We actually end the last of the 3 dates with a blast. Finally, a date that didn't make me want to reset my life just to get through. It only took us an agonizing 5 hours to finally see a fun and interesting date. With a tiny twist, we end the episode with no elimination, saving the big moment till the next and last episode. And thank God! I'll put my final feelings of the show after the next episode, but this journey has been a long and sluggish ride. And the fact that we're almost there gets me feeling really gay. And I can't wait to end this trash. Let's finish this train wreck of a show. The episode starts off showing that the mates are once again a lot more interesting than James.
So Franklin, are we going to have sex right now?
Ooh, Franklin, show it off, baby.
We have commandeered the camera.
Girl, let me see what you look like.
Screw James, it's all about us.
Man, this counts as being gay in the early 2000s? That's just being a homie nowadays. You should see me and the boys at our weekly orgies. But soon, tension starts to rise when Wes tells the boys that he's got a full-blown kiss from James, showing a clear advantage over the other two.
You guys nervous?
No.
Because you kissed him. Franklin and I are nervous. We're just jealous that you kissed.
I'm not sure what that means exactly.
He literally just said that, Wes. You can't really think you're the only one who wants to be with James, for some reason. You saying you got a kiss from him is going to make things tense. Granted, seeing that James literally threw the only other guy he kissed into the gulags, I don't think that kiss means jack for you. Maybe a good old reach around will help you a bit there. Franklin almost beat you to it. Speaking of Franklin, So at this point, I'm very sure Franklin is straight, because Brian is talking up a storm about how jealous he is of Wes, and Franklin's just sitting there, not saying anything, which is weird, considering that he's usually reading his Bible of escapades, or ready to murder someone for even daring to think about James. Where did that energy go, imposter? While the glory holes pucker at each other, James and Rufus are talking about all the other guys on who would have been straight or gay, and they are god-awful at it.
We talked about Darren.
I thought Darren was straight. I think, oh my gosh, I kept a straight guy this far.
I'm very curious to know why James chose Brian.
With Paul, he was one of those quiet guys in the very beginning, and as we did more things, Paul came out of a shell. And I just figured, okay, well, Paul must be a young gay man.
I don't think anybody has any idea that I'm straight.
Jim?
No.
No, of course he's gay.
We need to talk. Michael just seemed, very gay to me.
I knew going into this that
James would be that one person in Family Feud who, at the very last challenge, would answer every one of the questions the same answer as the guy before him. From here on out, things get weirdly tense and pretty serious as James and Andra are trying to figure out who's straight, while the boys are just separating themselves over James. Ah yes, just a typical day at your favorite streamer house. The groups get together one last time to enjoy themselves, and oh boy do they not enjoy it. But I do.
Gay men are just totally different for me than straight men.
What do you mean by, what is the difference?
I'm saying that I came here and I was surprised to see that there's so many different gay men.
And you're around the same type of people.
By same type of people, what kind of people are you speaking of?
Not about how pretty I am or whatever.
You're pretty.
James, you really need to tell Rufus to shut up or shit's gonna go down, cause he's getting a bit too aggressive.
Of 15, there had to be some that were playing the game. Oh my God, that person was there over somebody who was a true viable option that might have cared for James.
Obviously, he can't.
Okay, you know what? It's easy for you to say that because you're sitting here, and there's a fourth person that's probably not sitting here because I chose you to be here. I'm not judging you at all. I'm not saying you had to fall in love with him, but I'm saying you have to understand that for me, it is hard.
Damn, she's going off on Franklin. My only issue about this is why you still here. You're not helping anyone, let alone James. You're as helpful as a baboon with a broken wrench. I've talked to AI telemarketers that are more helpful than you. You have contributed to nothing for James, and your existence is but a loud hindrance. The fact that you're making this argument about yourself not only here, but when you were talking to James about it, only proves that you only care about yourself. Never James. The only reason you're here, Rufus, is because James is a limp dick to come up with his own opinions. This is why bringing you was the second worst decision they could have made. Adding a second factor into James's decisions doesn't help at all. But the creators just keep adding more and more factors, only for it to implode like it is now. You make this show objectively worse, and I want nothing more than to watch Franklin get up right now and slap you, because if I hear you talk anymore, I will die from an aneurysm caused by a bullet. Now shut the fuck up and let me finish this god-awful show. Whew. Well, good thing I let that off my chest. So anyway, we head straight for the end. After that unnecessary scene, everyone is getting ready for the elimination in 2 hours. The last of the glory holes are packing up, knowing that this is the final day. We see Brian packing... Packing what?
Is that Dan's pillow?
Oh yeah. Is there room in your bag for a sheet? Now that Dan's gone, I actually miss him. I don't know if Dan feels the same way, but if he doesn't, I'll stalk him until he does.
Ah! Ha ha ha! Ah! I'm done with this dude. The fact that he still pursues James despite liking Dan more, not adding the fact that Dan is straight, automatically makes everyone know what you want. Wait, why were you jealous if you like Dan more? God damn it, I hate this show! When everyone finishes packing, they take one last group photo in commemoration, taking a shot in honor of those that were sacrificed to be with James. Then some more boring shit happens that I don't care about as we go straight for the eliminations! Woo! Oh my god, it's almost over. Wes and Franklin are nervous, but this bitch Brian thinking he's already won.
I think my chances are pretty good. I think he knows now that I like him. And, I can see like some sort of relationship coming out of it.
I hate this dude so much, but my hatred would come full circle, because little did I know that my prayers would be answered. There is a God, as he delivered us the funniest drop kick to happen.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm good. I've had such a great time getting to know you. And Andra and I together just knew that if you got comfortable, that you would be a great guy to know and a great guy to keep here. It's been really tough, and you've been there, and I'm very, very grateful. But this game has had a lot of ups and downs, and I want to do everything I can to make sure that there isn't any hurt for you. The only way I can do that is to not choose you.
Hell yeah! Get that dirty soccer out of here! I am so happy James didn't pick him. Do I have Stockholm Syndrome? We cut between Wes and Franklin, slowly inching our way towards the big decision. The show expects us to be on edge of our seat, when the tension right now is more like, are we about to see a man drown himself on national television? However, a brain cell finally connected in James' head, and through hours of thinking, navigating his thoughts, and he would eliminate the person he thinks is the imposter.
My cause was to champion understanding that all gay men look for is love. I don't know exactly what. You made it to the end. And there's more to this than just the game. And I was dropped the bombshell of the twist. Through my knowledge of the twist and the process that we went through here to assume that you were the straight guy.
James, finally piecing things together, he successfully finds the straight man. And for some reason, James wants to blame Franklin for everything.
There's so much that we as gay men have to fight against already. Have a glimmer of acceptance that the fear that we could be infiltrated for another goal in something that we thought was just about love hurts. I hope your mission will help. If we can take anything, that would be it. That's genuine.
And that doesn't sit right with me. Like, you're telling me no one's going to blame anyone who made this show or any of the hosts in this? Yes, he chose to do this, but this wouldn't have happened if these never did this part of the show to begin with. Whatever, Wes wins, gay men kiss, this show, I'm done. And that was Boy Meets Boy, a boring ass show filled with mainly boring ass people with boring ass dates and a terrible premise. I'm sorry, but this show should not have existed. Not because it was a dating show with gay people in it, but simply it was a train wreck of the show. I had to find ways to enjoy this show to the point where I developed Stockholm Syndrome just to continue, because the ones creating the show didn't rely on the base premise alone and had to continue adding more and more stuff just so that the show was more presentable than what it was, when it shouldn't have been the case. Mind you, this is the very first gay dating show, and they thought that wasn't enough? I even ruined my damn search history trying to figure out if that was true or not. The only reason my interest was piqued was when I read about there being straight people hidden among them, which I guess their plan worked, but even then, it was more of a sick curiosity that got the better of me. But it was clear they had no faith in this show whatsoever to give it anything more than the bare minimum. Rushing dates in order to make up the hours, a new gimmick every episode, Andra. I had more fun watching old Logan Paul Vine videos than this garbage. It didn't help that they got the most boring gay men to walk on this planet. But compared to James, they all might as well have been John Mulaney. James is a painted canvas, but it was painted with all white. A majority of the time, James had to be dragged up by the other mates, who, with some exceptions, are hundreds to thousands of times more interesting than James. He should have just made Wes the Bachelor. He would have made the show so much better. Him and Sean were the closest thing to entertaining from this show. Sean being the brightest thing about this show. I miss you. I feel like I've learned more about the bad parts about gay people than the positives from this show. I hope this wasn't intentional either. Hell, I've learned more about gay people talking to my gay friend who helped me understand some of the things for this video. This feels more like a forgotten relic of what companies do nowadays every Pride Month. No care and no benefit except to look good to the community to trick them into getting what they're selling. And the lack of care is shown throughout the show. They want it done and to be exciting, only to shoot themselves in the dick multiple times, because by the end it was no longer a dating show, and because of this, in the end, no one cared about this show. This show is so forgotten that while researching for anything about it, it wasn't even the first thing to come up when you searched it by name on Google. Here, I will end this video with what I found out about this show. Do you want to know the funniest thing I read about this show? Well, it's all about why there was never a season 2. Boy Meets Boy creator Doug Ross held out hope for the second season. He acknowledged that the popularity of season 1 would make it practically impossible for another season with the same twist, but also said he has come up with another twist which Bravo executives thought was fun. It was so popular, they could not expect it to top with the same twist. The same twist! Popular. Popular? That's not true. You're a liar, Doug. You're a damn dirty liar. And what's this bullshit about needing a new twist? If it's popular, why do you need a new twist? Milk the shit out of it. Speaking in 2007, Bravo executive Francis Berwick pointed to public knowledge of the twist as a stumbling block to a season 2, noting that the difficulty Bravo had selling the series overseas because of international press reports on the twist. Ah, there it is! There it is! No goddamn shit the twist would get eyebrows raising. This was such a stupid gimmick. If you dumbasses want to run under the claim of helping straight people understand the gay community, then why would you just make everyone in the show gay and show more of them interacting? But instead, this was a rush show running off of an offensive gimmick while showing none of the gay men being themselves, because you do nothing but skip all the activities. In fact, I just realized, going through the entire script and through the show, all the entertaining people were the straight guys. Let that sink in. Dan legit had an episode to himself. Sean usually takes the spotlight, not his fault. Michael had a lot of screen time when everyone thought he was bi, and Franklin would not shut the fuck up about himself. So even then, we learned less about how gay people work, because they just showed us people pretending to be what they think gay people are. Oh my god. What Bravo does best is to do things first, and to really sort of shake up people's preconception and notions about things. And we would accept many different formats for a boy meets boy type show. I'm not saying that they would not be as good, because you can always come up with something else. But until we find that perfect way to do it, then why have a gimmick if this is the first gay dating show? Berwick also suggested that at the time, a series as gay specific as Boy Meets Boy might not have fit into Bravo's overall programming strategy. It has to feel like it's broad enough and multi-dimensional enough to work for an incredibly smart audience. So you have proven me right. Y'all did not care about this show because you already knew it wasn't going to be popular enough to survive, adding these twists to spice things up. Now hold one goddamn second. The fact you have to come up with different twists each season shows that this really isn't a gay dating show, but just a gay game show. Okay, I'm done with this. After learning some of that, I believe I've had enough of this show. This show was doomed from the start, which is a shame because it could have been a stepping stone for more content like this on television. But the lack of care really just crippled it before sending it off to a war with other 10 billion dating shows. But at the end of the day, for what it was worth, did I enjoy this show? No. This show was offensive, it was boring, and most importantly, it shouldn't have existed. And Bravo TV just kind of proved me right. And the fact is that they didn't even know what they wanted to do and knew that it was just a failure of the ratings, just adds more to that idea. Should you watch it? I mean, you can easily find it on YouTube, but I don't think it's worth the while. But if you really enjoy stuff like this, then sure, go ahead. But I do hope you enjoy my first video. It was a lot of fun making it, but I'm sure there's a lot I can work on to better my next video. And if you didn't like it, tell me what I can do better. I'll try to get to any comments I can, but before I can, I will be secluding myself into the deepest parts of a nearby forest to avoid the Pride Warriors after my head. But until I make my new video, I do hope all of you like, comment, and subscribe for more. And I hope you all stay safe. Hey, just recording this unscripted because I have nothing else to show for. This is my very first video. I wanted to say thank you for all who watched, and this segment is only to do like little shout outs, mainly for my fiance, Hikori, who did all the art for my stills. She worked very hard on them, both left and right. She didn't have to do that, but she did. Love her. And all my friends that helped me understand some of the things, because, well, the only issue about being a straight white male like me is that I don't know a lot about like what's going on the ins and out in the Pride community or the LGBTQ community. I hope I didn't offend anybody. I'm just making fun of this show, not the whole community in general. I do have plans for other stuff. I'm currently just rambling, but bear with me. I do know that I have a lot of issues with that during this whole escapade of doing this video. I've learned like things I couldn't fix because I recorded everything all at once. I probably shouldn't have done that. I'm learning that now. Some of my settings are different. I'm pretty sure some of you noticed I re-recorded some lines that were outdated, wrong, or other things. That's why I might sound a little bit different during some of these. But I do hope you enjoy, and probably won't ever do this again, because next time I will actually have something to put in this blank little spot right here. I'm sorry, but I do hope you enjoyed this video. Shout out mainly to my fiance. I put her Twitter down below in the description. She worked really hard on these, and she has some commissions usually sometimes open up. But yes, I do hope you enjoy, and I hope all of you stay safe.